I zoomed into our wedding photo and realized my husband was never holding my hand. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing. It was just a photo, a normal wedding photo, the kind you don't question, the kind you look at once, maybe twice, and then forget. But that day, I didn't forget it. I kept looking, not because I wanted to, but because something about it didn't feel stable. Like the image itself wasn't changing, but my interpretation of it was. I opened the photo again, full screen, zoomed in slightly. Everything looked correct. My dress, his suit, the guests, the lighting, perfect, balanced, normal. That's when I showed it to him, casually, like it was nothing. Look at this. He barely looked. One glance, a second at most, then shrugged. You're imagining things. No hesitation, no curiosity, no recheck, just dismissal. Immediate, final, like the conversation was decided before it started. I looked back at the photo, then at him, then back again. The gap was still there. Unchanged, unmoved, like it didn't care whether I believed it or not. I'm not imagining it, I said. He sighed, not angry, just tired. You always do this. That sentence stayed with me, always. It didn't sound like a reaction. It sounded like a label, a pattern, something already decided. I didn't answer. I just kept looking. Because something in me wasn't trying to argue anymore. It was trying to understand. Not the photo, but my reaction to it. Why did it matter so much? Why couldn't I just move on? That night, I opened the photo again. Not planned, just reflex. Zoomed in, same area, same hands, same gap. Still there. But this time, I noticed something else. Not in the hands, in the posture. We looked close, but not connected. Standing next to each other, not with each other. I closed the phone, put it down, tried to focus elsewhere, but my mind kept returning to that image, that space. The next morning, I asked him again. Casual tone, no obsession. Do you remember the wedding photo? He nodded. Yes. No emotion, no curiosity. I hesitated, then said, when you look at it, don't you feel like something's off? He looked up, longer this time. Not surprised, not confused, just observing me. Then said, you're overthinking again. Again. That word. Not explanation, shutdown. A way to end the conversation. Without engaging. I stopped talking. Not because I agreed, but because I realized something. Every time I brought something up, the answer never changed. Same structure, same tone, same certainty. Not about the photo, about me. So I went back to the photo, again and again, each time expecting the feeling to fade. Each time, it didn't. The gap remained exactly the same, no matter how long I stared. And slowly, something shifted. Not in the image, in me. Because the more I looked, the less I trusted my first impression. I started second-guessing everything, not just the photo, my memory. Was that day really perfect? Was I filling gaps? Was I remembering reality or reconstructing it? And once you start doubting one detail, you don't stop there. You start checking everything. I went back to older photos, other moments, other memories, trying to see if I had missed something. Something small, something ignored. And that's when I noticed it. Not one clear problem, a pattern. Small inconsistencies, subtle distances, moments slightly misaligned. Not wrong enough to prove anything. Not clean enough to ignore. And every time I mentioned it, his response never changed. You're imagining things. Always the same tone, same certainty. At some point, I stopped feeling like I was talking about a photo and started feeling like I was talking about my own perception. Because if I was wrong about something this simple, what else could I be wrong about? I didn't have an answer, but I couldn't stop looking. That was the problem. I kept going back to the same image, the same moment, the same gap. And every time I looked, it felt less like a detail and more like a question that refused to disappear. I told myself I was done. Done checking, done zooming, done staring at the same image over and over. Because at some point, it feels ridiculous. You begin with the question, curiosity becomes habit, habit becomes something else. Qualcosa di più pesante. And I remember thinking, this is stupid. It's a photo, just a photo. People don't destroy their own peace over a photo. So I stopped. Or tried to. 2 days. No zooming, no checking, no replaying conversations, nothing. And honestly, for a while, I felt better. Lighter. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was creating something that wasn't there. Maybe the brain invents patterns when you stare too long. I don't know. I was on the couch that second night. He was watching TV, I was scrolling. Normal, completely normal. Then a memory hit me. Small, random, not important. Before the ceremony, I had been nervous, really nervous. Standing near a mirror, people moving around me, hair, makeup, voices, chaos. And someone said, he's waiting outside. I smiled because I thought, good, he's probably nervous too. I hadn't thought about that moment in years, not once. But suddenly, it came back. So I asked him, casual, "Were you nervous before the wedding?" He looked at me. "What? Before the ceremony, were you nervous?" He shrugged. "I guess." And that was it. Nothing else. I expected more. A laugh, a story, a memory, something like I was pacing outside, or I thought I'd pass out. Anything. Instead, I guess. Then his eyes went back to the TV. Conversation over. And I remember thinking, that feels strange. Not wrong, just strange. Because weddings are memories people talk about, especially their own. I told myself not to do it. Not again. But 20 minutes later, I opened the photo. Again. I wasn't even looking for the hands this time. At least, I told myself I wasn't. Just checking. Just comparing. That's all. I zoomed into his face, then mine, then the background. People smiling, flowers, lights. Everything looked normal. Then I noticed something. His eyes. I froze. Not because something was wrong, but because I suddenly realized I couldn't remember where he had been looking. Not in real life. In my memory, I always imagined him looking at me, because that's how I remembered that day. But in the photo, he wasn't. He wasn't looking at me. He wasn't looking far away either. Just slightly off. Slightly. Enough to make me stare longer. Maybe it was timing. People blink, people move. I know that. But then another thought appeared. Why don't I remember that? Why does my memory feel different from the image? And suddenly, that feeling returned. Not fear, not exactly. Just instability. Like stepping on stairs and expecting another step that isn't there. I closed the photo, locked my phone, put it face down. No, enough. But thoughts don't stop because you tell them to. Sometimes they get louder. I lay in bed that night, looking at the ceiling, trying to sleep, and hearing his voice in my head. You're imagining things, again, until it wasn't even his voice anymore, just the sentence. Then another memory surfaced. Honeymoon, a dinner, small restaurant, near the water. I remember dropping my fork, laughing, apologizing, and suddenly I thought, wait, what did he say? I could remember my laugh, but not his. I sat up in bed, immediately, because once that question appears, it doesn't leave. I replay the memory, again, trying to fill missing pieces, trying to hear details that weren't there anymore. And for the first time, I wondered if memories change, not disappear, change. Maybe every time you remember something, you rebuild it. Another version, another copy, another interpretation. I looked over. He was asleep. Still, peaceful, normal. And I thought something I hated instantly. Why does he feel so far away, even though he's right here? I hated that thought. Because there was no reason, no proof, nothing real, just a feeling. Another feeling. And I was tired of feelings, because feelings don't explain anything. They just sit there, quiet, waiting. Waiting until you look at them. And once you do, you can't stop. The next morning, I promised myself no checking. No photos, no memories. Just a normal day. Coffee, work, laundry, messages. Normal things. Real things. Because I was embarrassed. Embarrassed that one tiny detail, a gap between two hands, had taken so much space in my mind. Not a secret message, not another person, not evidence, just a small empty space. And yet, it felt bigger every time I thought about it. I stood in the kitchen. He made coffee. Routine. Normal. He handed me my cup. Our fingers almost touched. Almost. And I froze. Because suddenly I remembered the photo. That same feeling. Close, but not touching. I hated myself for thinking it. Because now I was doing it. Connecting random things, creating patterns. And that scared me more. Because if I was creating connections that didn't exist, how would I know where it stopped? How would I know what was real? He smiled. You okay? Yeah. Too fast. Automatic. I looked away. Because if I kept looking, I'd start searching again. And I didn't want to search anymore. I was tired. Tired of checking, tired of wondering, tired of hearing the same sentence. You're imagining things. And I wasn't even sure anymore if it was his voice saying it or mine. I tried to stop thinking about it. Really tried. Because at some point, thinking stops feeling productive and starts feeling like something you can't control anymore. Like your mind isn't following you. It's moving slightly ahead or slightly behind, but never aligned. And that scared me more than anything else. So I focused on normal things. Work, messages, cleaning, anything that didn't require interpretation, anything that didn't require memory. For a while, it worked. Not perfectly, but enough. Enough to feel like I was back inside reality, or close enough to it. Then one afternoon, something small happened. Something I almost ignored. We were buying groceries. Normal place, normal people, normal noise. Nothing unusual. I was holding the list, he was pushing the cart. We moved through aisles without talking. And for a moment, I relaxed because nothing in that environment invited overthinking. Everything was physical, direct, present. Then we stopped at a shelf, both reaching for the same item at the same time. Our hands came close, not touching, just close. And I felt it immediately. That reaction, that instant mental flash. Not a thought, recognition. Same distance, same sensation, same absence of contact. I pulled my hand back too fast, and he looked at me, just for a second. Not questioning, not reacting, just observing. He didn't comment, he just turned back to the shelf. And somehow, that silence was worse, because silence gives space for interpretation, and interpretation is where everything distorts. We finished shopping, went home, put things away, normal sequence, normal actions. But inside my head, something shifted again. Not dramatically, just slightly, like a lens adjusting by a fraction. Enough to change how everything looks. Later that evening, I tried to distract myself, put on a show, something familiar, predictable. But I couldn't follow it. My attention kept slipping. Not because of something external, but because my mind kept replaying fragments. The photo, the video, the walking scene, the hands, the gap. And every time I pushed it away, it came back slightly different. Not stronger, just more persistent, like it had learned I would eventually stop resisting. At some point, he sat next to me on the couch. Same routine, same position. And I remember thinking, say something normal, ask something normal, reset this. But I didn't say anything because I didn't know what normal was anymore. And that thought alone made me uncomfortable. We stayed like that for a while. TV playing, neither of us watching. Then his phone vibrated. He looked at it, smiled slightly, typed something, locked the screen. Ordinary moment, completely ordinary. But my brain reacted anyway. Not with logic, with pattern recognition. That same sensation, small distance between reaction and explanation, between action and meaning. I looked at him and had to remind myself, stop, don't start, don't connect this. But the problem was already there, because once you start noticing structure, you stop seeing randomness as random. Later that night, I went to bed early. He stayed on his phone. I lay down, stared at the ceiling, trying not to think. But thinking isn't something you do, it's something that happens when you stop controlling it. And eventually, it came back. Not the photo first, not the video, something smaller. The wedding itself. Not the big moments, the micro ones. Walking between people, small conversations, background movement. And I started reconstructing it, piece by piece, automatically. And I realized something unsettling. Every time I remembered it, it changed slightly. Not dramatically, just enough to notice inconsistency. A detail here, a timing there, a facial expression I wasn't sure about anymore. And that made me pause, because memory's supposed to be stable. At least, I thought it was. I turned in bed. He was asleep, breathing steady, still. And I had that same thought again. He feels distant, even though nothing physically changed. And I hated myself for thinking it, because there was no reason, no evidence, just perception, just internal noise. But then I realized something worse. The more I tried to stop it, the more structured it became. Almost like my brain was building a system, a pattern where none should exist. And the next morning, I tried something different. No checking, no photos, no videos, no memories, just routine. Coffee, work, messages. And for a few hours, it worked. Until lunch, he sent a message. Short, simple, running late. That's all. And I stared at it too long, because suddenly my mind analyzed something that didn't need analysis. Tone, length, structure, and frustration hit me. Not at him, at myself, because I was doing it again, automatically, without permission. That night, we were on the couch again. Same place, same setup. He laughed at something on his phone, locked it, and for a moment, I just stared at him. Not because something happened, but because my brain asked a question. Why does that feel familiar? And I didn't have an answer. That was the problem. I didn't have answers anymore. Only reactions, only patterns, only interpretations that never settled. The next morning, I woke up early. House quiet, too quiet. I made coffee, slowly, trying not to think, trying not to connect. Then I looked at the counter and noticed something stupid. His cup was slightly closer to mine than usual. And immediately I stopped because I didn't want to do it again. Not another pattern, not another meaning. But my brain had already started. And I understood something I didn't want to admit. It wasn't the photo anymore. It wasn't the video. It was everything. And I didn't know how to stop seeing it. I didn't notice when things started changing. That's the strange part. There was never a clear moment where everything shifts. No signal, no warning, no obvious break. Just a gradual adjustment. Reality turning slightly out of alignment without making a sound. At first, I thought it was still just me. My mind, my pattern recognition, the same loop I couldn't escape. But Then something happened that didn't fit that explanation. Normal evening. Dinner almost finished, TV in the background, nothing unusual. He stood up to take his plate to the kitchen. I stayed at the table, half distracted, half thinking about nothing. Then his phone lit up. A message preview. Short. Unreadable fully, but enough to register a name I didn't recognize. And I felt it. That small internal pause. Not panic, not fear, just attention, sharpening on its own. He came back quickly, picked up the phone. Normal movement, nothing strange. But this time, he didn't put the phone down face up, he turned it over. Small detail, almost nothing, but my brain caught it instantly. And I hated that it did, because I didn't want another piece, another pattern, but it was already there. That night, I said nothing. I told myself it didn't matter. Phones get flipped, people get messages, life is normal. I repeated that until it almost sounded true. Almost, but not enough, because the next morning, I noticed something else. He was already awake, coffee made, cup on the table, but the position caught my attention. Slightly farther from mine than usual. Not dramatic, just enough to notice. And immediately I stopped myself. No, not again. But the thought was already forming, already happening. And I started wondering something I didn't want to wonder. Was I noticing more, or was there actually more to notice? That question stayed with me all day. At work, I couldn't focus. Everything felt slightly delayed. Messages came in, I replied, meetings passed, I nodded. But underneath everything, there was that background process. Checking, comparing, replaying. Not consciously, just automatic. That evening, I decided to stop again. Properly stop. No photos, no videos, no reconstruction. Just normal life. I cooked dinner, he came home late, we ate, talked about small things. And for a while, it felt okay. Almost normal. Almost. Until he mentioned something casually. Not dramatic, just a sentence. I might be out more this week for work stuff. Neutral tone, simple statement, but something inside me reacted instantly. More out than usual? Why? Work stuff meaning what? And immediately I felt anger. Not at him, at myself, because I was doing it again, even when nothing was happening. After dinner, I went to the bathroom, closed the door, looked at myself in the mirror, and said out loud, "Stop. Just stop." But silence never answers. It only reflects what you already think. When I came back, he was on the couch, phone in hand, relaxed, normal. I sat next to him, trying not to observe, trying not to analyze, just sit. Then his phone vibrated again, and this time, I didn't look at the screen. I watched him, a micro expression, a shift in attention, then gone. And I felt something unexpected. Not jealousy, not fear, curiosity, which was worse, because curiosity is what started everything. Later that night, I woke up, room dark, quiet, my mind awake, too awake. Without thinking, I reached for my phone. Old habit, automatic. I opened the wedding video again. Just for a second. I didn't even know what I was trying to confirm anymore. I skipped forward, stopped at the walking scene. Same moment, same movement. And again, that feeling. Distance. Subtle. Unexplainable. And I paused, because something felt different this time. Not in the video, in me. Because I wasn't asking if something was wrong anymore. I was asking if I had been wrong all along, and that thought hit deeper than anything before. I closed the phone, put it face down. Sleep didn't come back. Instead, I lay there thinking, if my perception could be this unstable, then what else was? The next day, I noticed something new. Not in photos, not in videos, in real time, in conversations, in pauses, in timing. The way he answered, the way he paused, the way silence appeared between sentences. Nothing concrete, nothing provable, but my mind wasn't looking for proof anymore. It was looking for structure. And structure is everywhere, if you look long enough. That evening, we were in the kitchen. I dropped a spoon. Small sound, normal moment. He bent down to pick it up. And for a second, our hands were in the same space again. Not touching. Almost. And I froze. Not because of the moment, but because I realized I was waiting for something to happen. Like I had started expecting meaning from randomness. And that was the moment I understood something I didn't want to accept. It wasn't about the wedding anymore. It wasn't about the photo or the video. It was about everything. At some point, I stopped asking myself when it began because there was no clear beginning anymore. It didn't feel like something that started. It felt like something that had always been there. And I was only now noticing it. Like discovering a sound that had been playing in the background your entire life. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. That morning felt normal at first. Too normal. He was already awake, coffee ready, same routine, same gestures, same silence between movements. But now even silence felt different. Not louder, just more present, like it had edges. I watched him check his phone. Not because I wanted to, because my attention went there automatically, and I hated that it was automatic. He smiled slightly at something on the screen. Small reaction. Then put the phone down. Face down. Again. And immediately I noticed it. Not as a fact, as a pattern. Same gesture, same positioning, same choice, and I felt that internal resistance rise again. No, not this, not another loop, but the loop didn't need permission anymore. It just happened. At breakfast, I tried something new. I forced myself to speak more, to interrupt the silence before it grew into interpretation. So, what time are you coming back today? He looked up. Normal time. Why? Just asking. A pause, a very small pause, almost nothing, but I noticed it. And I hated that I noticed it, because now even pauses had meaning. Or at least my brain was assigning meaning to them. Work is just busy, he added. Neutral tone, simple sentence, but my mind broke it apart instantly. Busy how? Why now? Why not before? And I stopped myself, forced a smile, said, okay. He didn't react, which should have reassured me, but didn't. Later that day, I went out alone, just walking, trying to reset my head. The city felt loud in a different way. Not chaotic, just layered. Too many conversations, too many faces, too much movement without meaning. And I wondered, does everyone else notice patterns? Or did I cross into something only I could see? That thought scared me. Not because it was dramatic, because it was isolating. If only I could see it, then nothing could confirm it. And nothing could deny it either. That evening I came home. He wasn't there yet. The apartment felt still, not empty, just paused. I sat on the couch, didn't turn on the TV, told myself not to think. But thinking responds to absence. And in silence, it always returns. My eyes landed on the coffee table. His keys. Perfectly aligned. Neat. Controlled. And again, I noticed something I shouldn't have noticed. Order. Consistency. Repetition. And immediately I felt angry. Not at him, at myself. Because I was turning everything into evidence again. Even objects, even stillness, even nothing. He came home later than usual. Nothing unusual in how he entered. But I watched him more than I used to. Not openly. Just enough to catch details I didn't want to catch. His movements, his timing, the way he placed his jacket. The way he didn't look at me immediately. And I asked myself, when did I start doing this? I couldn't answer. Because it didn't feel like a decision. It felt like a shift. Dinner was quiet. Not uncomfortable, just dense. He talked about work, I listened. But I wasn't listening to content anymore. I was listening to structure. How sentences started, how they ended, where they paused. And that scared me more than anything else. Because I didn't choose it. It was automatic. After dinner, we sat on the couch. Same place, same distance, same routine, but I couldn't stop observing. His phone vibrated, he checked it, smiled, locked it, and something shifted inside me. Not jealousy, not suspicion, recognition. Like I had seen this sequence before, or like I had started categorizing life into repeating loops. And then I realized something I didn't want to admit. I wasn't reacting to him anymore. I was reacting to patterns, and he just happened to be inside them. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I got up, went to the kitchen. Movement felt easier than stillness. Stillness gave space, and space filled itself, without permission. I opened my phone. Not intentionally, reflex. And there it was, the wedding video. Still there, waiting. I didn't debate it, I opened it. Not for answers, for confirmation. That something was still stable, still consistent. I skipped forward. Ceremony, walking scene, the moment again. And again, that distance. Not different, not clearer, just persistent. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was discovering something. I felt like I was maintaining something. Like checking was the only way to stabilize the feeling itself. And that realization made me stop. Because this wasn't about truth anymore. It was about control. The need to keep the world internally consistent, even if it wasn't. I closed the phone and realized something worse. The checking wasn't giving me answers. It was giving me relief. Temporary, fragile, addictive. And that was the real problem. Because relief always asks to be repeated, and repetition becomes a system. And systems are very hard to escape once you're inside them. I went back to bed. He was asleep, same position, same silence. But now I couldn't trust silence either, because silence had become part of the pattern too. I lay there, eyes open, mind loud, and one final thought appeared before sleep finally came close. Maybe nothing changed. Maybe I did. Or maybe I finally started noticing what was always there, and I just didn't have a name for it before. By the time I stopped sleeping properly, I stopped noticing when it began. The nights blended into mornings, no boundary, no transition, just hours suspended, unfinished. Like something inside me was still running, even when everything else was still. And slowly, I understood something I didn't want to accept. It was never about the photo anymore. It hadn't been for a long time. It was about me, about what I was doing with every detail I saw, how I shaped meaning out of things that never asked for meaning. That morning, I woke up before him again. The house was quiet, but not peaceful. Quiet in a different way, like everything was waiting for me to decide what it meant. I went to the kitchen, made coffee, and caught myself checking everything. Cup position, distance, alignment. And I froze because I realized what I was doing. Not observing life, but scanning it, like data, like evidence. He came in later, normal, sleepy, unaware of the storm inside my head. And for the first time, I felt something strange. Not doubt, not suspicion, clarity, trying to surface under all the noise. We sat at the table, and I almost said it. Almost asked him everything. The photo, the feeling, the distance. But I didn't, because I already knew the answer. Or worse, I knew it wouldn't matter. He would say something normal, grounded, simple, and my mind would continue anyway. So I stayed silent. And that silence felt heavier than any conversation. Later, I went out alone again. But this time, I didn't look for patterns. I just walked. No analyzing, no comparing, no checking. Slowly, something shifted. Not outside, inside. The need to interpret didn't disappear, but it weakened when I wasn't feeding it, like a system losing input. And that realization stayed with me because it meant something uncomfortable. This wasn't discovery, it was reinforcement. Every time I checked, I made checking more necessary. Every time I searched for meaning, I made meaning more unstable. And suddenly, the entire structure collapsed into something simpler. Not mystery, not hidden truth, just habit. That night, I came home later than usual. He was already there, sitting on the couch, phone in hand, normal scene. But I didn't sit immediately. I stood near the entrance, just watching. Not analyzing, just observing. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel pulled into anything. No patterns forming, no automatic connections, just quiet. Real quiet. I walked in, sat next to him, and I didn't check his phone. Didn't scan his movements, didn't search for meaning. I just stayed there, present. And it felt unfamiliar, like a skill I had forgotten. Later, he spoke. Something casual, irrelevant, and I listened normally, not structurally, not analytically, just listened. And I realized something important. He hadn't changed. The photo hadn't changed, the video hadn't changed. Nothing had changed except the way I was processing everything. And that was the part one had been avoiding, because it meant there was no final piece, no last detail, no confirmation, just perception and attention and what you repeatedly trained them to do. That night, I couldn't sleep again. But this time, it wasn't spiraling. It was silence, a different silence, not threatening, just unfamiliar. I got up once, looked at the kitchen. Same objects, same placement, but they didn't feel like signals anymore, just things. And that shift was small, but real. I went back to bed. He was asleep. Still the same. Still normal. And one final thought appeared before everything quieted. Maybe nothing was hidden. Maybe nothing was wrong. Maybe I didn't uncover a truth. Maybe I built a pattern where there wasn't one and fed it long enough that it started feeling real. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to continue checking. Not because I had answers, but because I understood the mechanism. And once you see the mechanism, the illusion stops being interesting. It becomes optional. And I let it go, quietly, without drama, just something losing importance. And that was the end of it. Not a revelation, not a twist, just the moment I stopped participating in it.